New on the Creation Club is Tesla Cannon. Shocking new advancements on the battlefield. Designed by the US government as a lightweight anti-tank energy weapon, the Tesla Cannon delivers a massive jolt to any unfortunate soul who stands in its path. Includes custom modifications and a new quest that has you track the whereabouts of a missing gunner crew, created by Richard Unoctium Edwards. Creation obtained via quest. The Tesla Cannon is selling for 400 credits. But is it worth it? Let's find out. Upon arrival in the Commonwealth, we begin the quest, Best of 3. Listen to the Vault-Tec distress signal. And when we listen to it...
This has been a pre-recorded message. Message repeats in 3 seconds.
1, 2, 3...
Help! They're gonna kill me. This has been a pre-recorded message. Message repeats in 3 seconds.
Hold on, we gotta listen to that one more time.
Help!
And then...
They're gonna kill me.
With that, our quest log updates. Investigate the distress signal coordinates. The coordinates send us far south towards the glowing sea. Passing Somerville Place, we track the signal all the way to a blasted out stump right at the edge of the glowing sea. Here we find the corpse of a Vault 95 gunner. On his body, we find the gunner holotape. Cracking it open in our Pip-Boy, we find one entry. Instructions for Crane. Crane, against my protestations, Sarge wanted me to give you a copy of the newest backdoor for the Pip-Boys. Instead of going through the current OS, it accesses a lower level of code within the device. Once it does that, something quite interesting happens. I'm wasting my time. All you need to do is pull the plug from the back of the Pip-Boy, carefully this time, then simply insert it into any Pip-Boy, provided the plug is removed, and the backdoor program should do the trick automatically. Once inside, you can pull data from any Pip-Boy that you find. Coordinates, logs, you name it. Sarge is hoping that if we find any vault dwellers in the field, we'll be able to locate more vaults through their Pip-Boys. You know what that means. Ah, hell. Knowing you, you'll probably end up leading the vault dwellers to us, rather than the other way around. I hope Sarge knows what he's doing. Alright, bit of techno mumbo-jumbo there, but I think I get the picture. Something about accessing this guy's back door to download data? To do so while hovering over the body, we can press space to download the Pip-Boy data. Vault-Tec Hack Tool version 1.2. Generous. Generous? Gunner OS? Access to this guy's back door? Granted. Here we find 5 entries, but most of them are corrupted. If we try to access a corrupted entry, we cause the OS to crash, and we've got to hack through the back door again. This includes 2 corrupted data files and 2 corrupted image files. But there is one file that we can access. October 21st, 2087. Holy crap, where to start? I'm just glad I have this thing to write it all down. We've been locked down in this vault for weeks now. I've been bored as hell, and the games on these things are getting old fast. It was fun putting notes saying, "Kick me," on Coroni's back for a while, but next thing you know, Brass says there's a paper shortage. Also, it's not exactly easy playing a prank on someone who spends all their time in their room. Me and the boys were trying to reprogram the Assaultron to give him a wedgie. But yeah, less said about that, the better. It was then that I remembered Lazansky telling me that he reprogrammed our Pip-Boys for Sarge so we can better track our guys on glowing sea missions. Well, the joke's on you, Lazansky. I found a way better use for your stupid program. I got a few of the squad together and managed to break into the kitchen to take the week-old Mirelurk soup that had been smelling out the canteen for days. Then we hoisted it by a rope over the atrium. After that, all we had to do was watch Caroni walk down the hallway to get his dinner after everyone else had gone to bed. God, I can't even describe my anticipation watching the little Caroni blip move along my Pip-Boy screen. By the time the blip appeared in the atrium, I lifted my head and there he was, completely unaware that he was going to smell like a dead mirelurk in the sun. I told Jonas to pull, and next thing you know, the goop came falling on his head. His face was a golden picture. I swear he was about to cry. I haven't seen him since. And to think, Sarge wanted to use these things to track us for the mission tomorrow. Okay, well, comedy within the gunner ranks there. So looks like these guys were tormenting a fellow gunner named Caroni. Sounds like Caroni was the quiet type, liked to keep to himself. And these geniuses decided to provoke the quiet type. Well, we can only imagine what happened next. The backdoor hacking software now installed on our Pip-Boy picks up the location of another gunner Pip-Boy, but this one is in the glowing sea. After walking south, then west for a while, we eventually arrive at the Hope's March Pentecostal Church. This is one of the many marked locations in the glowing sea that don't have a lot of lore but are interesting locations. I covered it in my video on all of the things to find in the glowing sea that you can watch here. Clearing the Church of Ghouls, we find the dismembered body of the next gunner lying behind the podium. Pressing space, we can access his back door. Access to back door granted. Here we find 2 corrupt entries, but one that still works. October 22nd, 2087, the very next day. I better use this thing for something. Maybe a confessional of sorts will make me feel better about what I did. Here it goes. Caroni. He never exactly was the ideal mercenary, but we worked well as a team. He was good at all the technical stuff, hacking terminals, getting through automated doors, disabling turrets. And me? Well, I finished the job. It all changed, though, when we signed up for the Gunners. They were paying far more than we could make on our own, so it seemed like a no-brainer at the time. Little did I know what would happen when Caroni was forced to work with people other than myself. When I was assigned to my squad, it was like I had known them for years. We worked well together, and the guys respected me for my marksmanship. But Caroni was a different story. He was always an acquired taste, and his shyness frustrated Sarge. It was a mistake to shove a laser rifle into his hands when I knew that his best skills lay elsewhere. I thought when we took the vault, things would change, that he'd come out of his shell. Instead, the opposite happened. It's these damn Pip-Boys. He's obsessed with them. He spends all his time in his room playing these games. I've tried to snap him out of it, tell him that Sarge is about to boot him out of the Gunners, or worse, but he always rebuffs me. It's funny, I still beat him in these games, despite him playing them longer than I ever have. If I hear, best of 3, one more time, I might snap. Maybe one day he'll shape up, but I can't wait that long. I've got to do something quickly. I owe him for saving my life. This vault is filled with chems, and it's not like they're gonna miss a few shots of Psycho. Okay, so quiet guy, loner, tech wizard, gamer doesn't really fit in with the Gunners, and this guy, as a way of saying thank you for saving his life, gets him hopped up on Psycho? Genius! Well, I'm about to think that these Gunners are gonna get exactly what they deserve. What was he thinking? Did he think that maybe a little Psycho would loosen him up a bit, make him more relaxed around the lads? That's what Booze is for, not Psycho. Psycho's just gonna make him play an aggressive game of ping pong or something. At any rate, the wonders of Robco technology pick up another gunner signal close by. From the church, we head southeast. Crossing a road, eventually we arrive at Relay Tower 0DB 521. This relay tower sends us on a couple of other interesting missions, which I covered in my video dedicated to the tower that you can watch here. At the base of the tower, beneath the terminal, we find the body of the next Vault 95 gunner, and when ready, we can access his back door. Access to back door granted. Here we find 4 corrupted data files, but 1 with data still intact. October 22nd, 2087. The same day, the day Caroni was still hopped up on Psycho. I'm making a mission report here in case anyone comes across my body. If you're unable to identify me, I'm Lieutenant Lazansky, Tech Specialist on Salvage Team 20. We managed to locate the wreckage. It's likely intact and survived the crash. That said, we underestimated the hostiles we would likely encounter on our mission, and as a result, 2/3 of the platoon is dead or missing in action. It's likely I would have been right there with him if it wasn't for Caroni. I wasn't sure why the sergeant had picked the private to accompany us on the mission, but for the moment, I was glad he did. My good feeling was short-lived, however. Despite saving us, Caroni wouldn't respond to orders. The only time he made so much as a peep was when one of our fire team killed a hostile. Every time that happened, Caroni would look anxiously for another mutation to put down. We tried to tell him that every hostile he killed risked us being swarmed once more, but he wouldn't listen. It was as if he was determined to get the most kills out of all of us. Did he think this was some kind of game? We didn't hold our position for long. Even Caroni didn't fancy his chances with the 2 Deathclaws that flanked us. For once, we agreed on something. We ran to a nearby cave, and it appeared that the beasts had lost our scent. It was there we found some kind of pre-war weapon. Now, I had disassembled and reassembled a plasma rifle before, but this was like nothing I had ever seen. We had to get this back to base, but first we had to get some rest. When I woke up, I discovered that not only were all our mentats gone, but Caroni was hunched over the weapon on a boulder, its constituent parts scattered across the rock face. At the time, even with death almost a certainty, I still couldn't let this promotion opportunity go. I tackled Caroni. He fought back. Once the fray started, the rest of the team jumped in, all of us fighting over the weapon. The noise attracted what was left of the Glowing Sea's population to our position, and soon we were running for our lives once more. To say we weren't so lucky this time was an understatement. I watched the rest of us being torn apart. The weapon? It worked. Caroni fired it mindlessly into the storm. Its effectiveness is clear, but it wasn't enough. The last time I saw him, he was running into the sea, the ribbons of electricity from his weapon slowly growing tinier and tinier in the fog. I got away again. Most of me did. I'm going to try and use a transmitter to radio for help, but it's only a matter of time now. Yeah! Doggone blood flies! Okay, so we've got a gunner hopped up on Psycho and Mentats, harboring a strong urge for retribution, loose in the Glowing Sea with some pre-war weapon that he tinkered with, and now we've got to find him. Great. The data we downloaded from Lazansky's Pip-Boy apparently included decryption for a certain radio frequency, for we pick up a brand new frequency, the Gunner Signal Remnant. Tracking it on our Pip-Boy. From here, I walked northwest, but quickly realized that the signal got stronger if I went southwest. The signal eventually led me to the wreckage of Skylane's Flight 1665. That's right, we remember reading in the terminal that they were trying to scavenge something from this crash. But it was here where I got confused. The signal appeared to get stronger right in the middle of the wreck, but I would pass right over it, and then it would get weaker. It wasn't until a while later that I realized that I was stepping over giant ash piles. And it was from these ash piles that the signal was emanating. On each of the ash piles were the remains of gunner armor, gunner clothing. Something had turned an entire unit of gunners into piles of ash. But what? Moving inside the wrecked fuselage of the plane, at last we find the source of the signal. A gunner corpse, not turned to ash. When ready, we can access his back door. Access to back door granted. We find 4 corrupted data entries and 1 whole one. October 22nd, 2087, that same day. Mission accomplished. The aircraft is in pieces, but those pieces are intact. We were about to check inventory, see if we can carry some of this equipment back to Vault 95, when we saw a blue light in the fog. As it grew closer, we raised our weapons. I could hardly believe my eyes. It was that good-for-nothing Caroni! It didn't take long to guess why this coward survived. He had something hoisted over his shoulder, glowed brightly. The jerk was gonna give away our position. I told him to put it down. He didn't. I told him it was an order. He didn't respond. We drew our weapons again, and I ordered once more. He stood there, and I told my men to approach. As they surrounded him, some kind of lightning bolt shot from the thing, turned felt into ash. We covered the area in bullets, but when the smoke cleared, that son of a gun was gone. He couldn't go 1 circuit without tripping over his shoelaces, but now he can disappear in a flash? We darted into the fuselage for cover, and he came at us again. He didn't even take cover as he pursued us, and took out 2 more of our men. I was as sure as dead, so I leapt at him and hit him squarely on the jaw. He fell to the floor of the cabin. What was left of us joined me in holding him down. We hated the fact that we needed him alive, but command needed to know what had happened out here. Otherwise, I would have shot the bastard myself. Bastard may have put up a good fight, but people like that, even with every advantage, they always lose. But wait a minute, we're standing over the corpse of the author of this note. According to him, they restrained Caroni, but now he lies here dead, which can only mean... With Caroni dead, we can loot his body. We see that he's been kept alive by Radaway and Mentats. And we see that the Gunner OS software works on his Pip-Boy. When ready, we can hack our way through his back door. Access to back door granted. October 23rd, 2087. Time for round 2. Well, Caroni, I'm sorry to say it, but I think that's game over. Well, halfway through that, Caroni, the coward that his squad mates said he was, turned tail to run, and we knocked his weapon out of his hand. Let's see, where was it? Ah, we find it lying nearby. A Tesla cannon. And isn't it a beaut? Look at this sucker. With that, we complete the quest, best of 3. Now that we've explored the back doors of multiple gunner mercenaries, we can have our way with this Tesla cannon. The Tesla cannon has 3 items that can be modified: the assembly, the barrel, and the receiver. No modifications we can make change the appearance of the hardware of this weapon. When we find it, it comes with the Tesla cannon assembly. which fires an explosive Tesla shot, distributing damage via an area effect. This is how the Tesla cannon worked from the events of Broken Steel. But within assembly, we find a new option, the Tesla Beaton assembly. This option fires a Tesla effect that distributes through nearby enemies like a chain. This option changes the color of the electricity coursing through the device from blue to gold. This assembly option is like a chain lightning effect. It does initial blast damage on our chosen target, and then chains Tesla damage or lightning between other nearby targets. The name of this version of the weapon alludes to the Tesla cannon that we find during the events of Fallout New Vegas. This was the Tesla cannon we found near a crashed vertibird in New Vegas. But even it worked a bit differently from this one. The New Vegas version of the cannon worked like the Fallout 3 version, but with a much larger area of effect splash damage. Still very different from this version, which chains lightning instead. The name of the Tesla Beaton cannon from Fallout New Vegas, and as a consequence, the assembly version for this weapon is in reference to the webcomic Hark a Vagrant by author and artist Kate Beaton, a comic strip which frequently features Nikola Tesla. As for barrel options, it comes with the standard barrel. We can upgrade it to the Beaton amplified lens, which increases damage but decreases accuracy and recoil. The jury-rigged beam focuser, another reference to Fallout New Vegas, where we find a jury-rigged Tesla cannon by Father Elijah during the DLC Old World Blues. This decreases damage but increases accuracy and recoil. There's an improved Beaton amplified lens, which deals exceptional damage. However, it has inferior accuracy and recoil. And finally, there's the improved jury-rigged beam focuser, which does the opposite. Grants exceptional accuracy and recoil, but at the cost of decreasing damage. Then, under receiver, we find quite a few options. It comes with the standard receiver. We can upgrade it to the Spark Gap Tesla Coil, which improves critical shot damage and accuracy. The Solid State Tesla Coil, which improves Tesla damage and range. The Wave Oscillator, which simply improves damage. The Magnified Spark Gap Tesla Coil, which grants superior critical shot damage and better accuracy. The Magnified Solid State Tesla Coil, which improves its damage and its range. The Magnified Wave Oscillator, which improves damage even more. The Magnified Spark Gap Oscillator, which grants superior critical shot damage, better accuracy, and improved damage. The Magnified Solid State Oscillator, which grants better Tesla damage to the chain lightning effect, better range, and improved damage. And finally, we've got the Triple Resonant Wave Oscillator, which grants superior damage. Now, there's just no getting around it. This weapon is gorgeous. It's a beautiful thing to behold. I've never made a weapon mod before. I don't do meshes and textures, so I don't know how they do it. But the way each metal piece of this Tesla cannon reflects light just a little bit differently, has a slightly different sheen, really makes it look realistic. And it's a delight to use in first person. It looks and feels big and powerful, but it doesn't obscure too much of the screen. I love seeing the electricity crackling there, and the sound effects are great. An impact with this thing feels like a damaging impact. You can hear the skin and bones snap and crackle. Now, as an effective weapon, yeah, I could see myself using it on a certain kind of character. It doesn't have iron sights, so it's hard to aim, but it does a devastating amount of damage. And the chain lightning effect can take out an entire squad of low-level to mid-level enemies like raiders and ghouls. But I'm sure a character spec'd into the appropriate perks could make great use of this weapon as a primary weapon. Now, if I'm gonna be finicky, my biggest complaint is that there's no reload animation. One of the things I liked most about the Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 Tesla cannon is its really cool reload animation where the fusion cell pops out the back and the character pulls the weapon down to pop a new one in there. But with this creation, there's no reload animation at all. It doesn't reload. When you empty the magazine, just fire it again, and it magically reloads itself. That's a bit of a bummer for those of us who are familiar with the original Tesla cannon, though not having to stop and reload the weapon does make it more powerful. I can only speculate as to why they made this choice, and I think they probably just didn't have time to make a new animation. They would have to animate both the male and female soul survivors pulling it down and popping a new cell in the back there, an animation that doesn't exist in Fallout 4 right now. But that's just a small cosmetic thing, and I don't think it detracts too much from the weapon as a whole. So that's the Tesla cannon. Is it worth it? Well, it's a $4 weapon. There were no game-breaking bugs, and the quality of the weapon itself looks great. So I think this is a high-quality creation. That said, in general, I think Creation Club creations are overpriced. No matter how good the quest is, no matter how cool the weapon is, $4 for one weapon is just too much to spend. And that's just my opinion. I'm sure there are a lot of players for whom $4 is a small price to pay for such a cool weapon. Fans loved it when it was introduced in the Broken Steel DLC for Fallout 3. It's been a fan favorite all the way through Fallout New Vegas, so I think its worth is really situational, based more on what the player wants to get out of his or her game. And so for some, I think $4 is definitely worth the Tesla cannon that we get. Now, as for the quest, well, I had a lot of fun with this quest. I don't know if you could tell, but I think I was having a blast for unintended reasons. This quest just cracked me up. Maybe I'm immature. I'm happy to admit that. Maybe it's just me, and I have some growing up to do, but I was having a good time. The idea behind the quest is wonderful. You've got this guy, he's a tech wizard, he goes AWOL, and then rumor spreads of a man with a glowing weapon that crackles through the fog, stalking people in the glowing seas. That's a really cool idea. There were parts of the story that I thought were a little cliche. He was an introvert, he liked to be by himself, he was bullied by his friends, and then he finally snapped, even though it was really caused by Psycho. Overall, I really enjoyed the quest. I had a great time with it. It was short, but it was fun. But those are just my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. Have you been itching to get your hands on the Tesla cannon? Does this weapon meet or exceed your expectations? What aspect of the creation was better than you expected? What could they have done better? And what did you think of the quest? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I publish many Fallout videos each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss my next one, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have and you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a brand new shirt in the shop. Enclave. Declare your allegiance to the Enclave and everything they stand for, with this brand new design that comes on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. You can find it on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.